I've worked in art and design for over 25 years since graduating. I think my art career began very early when you sort of get to work with different media. That formalised into an approach through industrial design during my late teens and early 20s, which has then continued into photography and into sculptural furniture, which is the main part of the Black collection. I find wood expressive in its own right. It has an inherent character and quality which you can further enhance. A lot of this work is about accessing the infinite. Natural patination that's gathered in the timber over hundreds of years. Some of the timber we've selected here is sort of 700 year old. But in any wood, it gains patina and sort of character over time. That then can be enhanced to create additional depth before it's then carved or it's then given other hue and colour to it. Any piece of timber, it has its own character, which then within that you can see the design. But this approach is about functionality more than anything else. I mean, yes, some of the objects are purely aesthetic. They are pieces to channel light. They respond well to creating surfaces that both reflect and focus. But importantly, wood allows you to create objects which people can see, feel and touch. It's a tactile medium. I'm not precious about how the objects are used. A lot of the sculptural forms can be used as a bench. They can be sat on, they can be touched. And I think it's at certain levels, if you want to appreciate the strong aesthetic, of course you can do that. Those objects can then be just engaged with in the way that you choose to engage with them. They don't necessarily demand your attention, but you can engage with them through tactility as well as appreciating the visual aesthetic and strength of them. Once you've sculpted the surface, then it's there. You know, it's not so forgiving in that regard, but it has a permanence as well and a durability which, you know, goes beyond our lifetimes. It's not something that screams and sort of says, obviously, you must look at me. And I think tonally, I've enjoyed that because it does respond well to light because of its its depth. A lot of the objects have been then carved and formed to interact with light to provide a surface. But the strength of form as well allows the light to move around them during the course of the day and to reflect light at different times and in different ways. The studio is based in Scotland, so there's a certain type of light. That kind of light forms a northern aesthetic. It's the midnight black of rain-washed stones and trees, and I think there's a certain quality to that. There's several different types of pattern that are part of some of the objects, some of the sculptural forms. For instance, there's ancient Neolithic cup and ring marks which have been part of the historic landscape for thousands of years across Scotland and Northern England. Specifically as well, there's one of the works is related to the Gokstad ship, which is a Viking warship. And that again is a fascination with light and water. It's actually black now because it's very old, but that's been reflected in one of the works. I guess there's a degree of providing a meditative work, something that can just simply catch the eye. That moment where for a brief moment, the light catches out of the corner of your eye and for a brief moment, you're taken somewhere else, which in the modern world there's not often room for that because we engage directly with everything that we do, from a modern phone to a computer screen, whereas some of this work is about the elusiveness of light and how you can be slightly hypnotized for a moment. The gallery itself is a good sized space, and I think more importantly as well, it's got a lot of volume to it. It's also quite focused. Front to back, you have a good aspect to the front to basically showcase your work. And I think also as well, it's a good environment to take larger objects. In this particular case, some of the forms that we have are quite large. And I think what's been important here is that there's enough space for that to happen and for people to move around the object. Art doesn't necessarily have to hang on a wall all the time. It can be in a usable format.